Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of The Back Nine. It has been a hot minute since we have done this. We've had to work around some schedule changes. I'll be talking about that later on, where you can see the 9 to 5 update later on in the show and some other things along those lines. But welcome back in, everybody. I hope that you all have been having a fantastic February. There's been a lot of great Splatoon that has been played, and we have a lot of stuff in today's show to talk about as well. If this is your first time joining us for The Back Nine, this is a Splatoon-centric podcast where myself, NineWholeGrains, interviews a number of different players about their experiences and also recounts some events that have happened in the community. First and foremost, before we get into our interview, and you all are going to love this interview here, a very charismatic individual who you all probably know if you've been around the Splatoon landscape. It is, of course, Wadsm. But before we get into that, it is important that we take a look at the results of our big event that just happened. The Splatoon World League playoffs. Of course, there have been other events that have happened since our last showing of the Back Nine, but this one is undoubtedly the biggest. I'm partially biased because I commentated it, but this is one that everyone was looking forward to well in advance. Of course, you can see, scrolling along our ticker at the bottom, the results listed and the players as well. Here you will get to see, on day one, Dream got the win over Supernova, Team Olive got the win over Tanzaku, and then FT win with that emphatic 3-0 over Sayonara. The next day, Dream made the run of dreams, I suppose, for lack of a better term here. Winning pretty handily here, FT Win did start to get something figured out, but they had a counter pick that nobody was able to beat, and I actually was able to grab just a couple clips from that event that I think will illustrate it pretty well. So let me see if I can get that queued up. Yeah, here we have Dream.
This is our spirit bomb!
Taking a nice toss right there, and it appears that, Humpback Zones here is about to get hit. And those last two were Sayonara and FT Win. Of course, if you did not see it, and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you will be able to see all of that on InkTV's channel. They had that up there. All I'm going to say is, booyah, bomb. It was... it really was a fantastic thing. I think that tournament is going to make people look very, very differently, not only at that map and mode in particular, but the fact that our two top teams really didn't run a backliner. And I'm never a fan of saying you have to do this, you have to do that, you can't do this, you can never do that. But I feel like having a backliner was always one of those things that was generally accepted as, if you want to succeed consistently at the top level, you have to have this. Now I'm not so sure. The fact that those two teams were able to make it work at the level they were tells me that there is still a lot we have to figure out about this game, and still a lot that we have to learn. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, you can watch that in its entirety on InkTV's Twitch channel. They have it all listed and highlighted there. Feel free to watch day one, watch day two, a lot of great high-level Splatoon action, and it's not often that we get to see what top-level Japanese players are able to do against some of our better players, so I think it'll be a nice case study for people, at least until the next event where we get to see some of them play. But now we are going to move on to what you all came here for, and that is our interview. Today, the person that we will be interviewing is someone who I have had the pleasure of getting to meet in person at the Splatoon 2 World Championships in 2018, competing for Backsquids there. He is a famed content creator with over 30,000 subscribers. I hope I got that number right. On YouTube, which is a fantastic number for anyone, even more so if it is a member of our own community. He is one of the few... I can count on one hand the amount of people who can claim that they have been a top content creator and a top competitor. I am, of course, referring to Wadsm. And Wadsm, can you hear me? Let me make sure I don't have you on mute. Okay, I think I pulled you off mute. Can you hear me now?
I can, yeah.
All right, perfect. Wadsm, how are you doing this evening? I know it's pretty late for you, so I really appreciate you sticking around.
No, I'm doing great. I'm a bit tired since it's past midnight, but glad to be here. and I hope you're doing fine as well.
I am. Yeah, it's just another Splatoon tournament on North American time zones for you here. So,
Totally, yeah.
all right. So, as always, I'm going to open the floor to you here at the start. Talk a bit about your journey through Splatoon, because I know you've been here for quite a while. You've competed all up and down with a number of different teams. So, let the people know a bit about your journey.
Well, that's a long journey, actually. I played it since basically day one. That might be a lie. I got it a few weeks after release, but I mean, in the beginning, there weren't even private battles, so barely anything you could do. But I actually came over from the Mario Kart community, so we're already playing with some players like Nike or FLC, who also came from the Mario Kart community, and I actually a lot of top level Splatoon players, at least in Europe, they came all over from Mario Kart, like Soren, Kiver. Who else is there? I'm forgetting someone. Nike. I already mentioned him. Yeah, and after private battles came on, yeah, I tried to compete with my first Mario Kart team, but that didn't really work out for Splatoon. I don't know, so I just had to, yeah, move on my own. I landed in Extermination pretty quickly, which might be a name a lot of people know from Splatoon 1. I was actually one of the first members, but I left them pretty quickly after we found some good success in the first game, because I kind of didn't like the first game, if I'm quite honest. At least the meta you had to play. Like the whole super aggressive, brainless, quick respawn, stealth jump thing, which was there at the time. It got better in the end, but I wasn't around for that anymore. That I just, quit the team and just occasionally played tournaments and pickups and stuff like that. But when Splatoon 2 came out, that's when it pretty much changed, because, I made my own team there, and ever since been playing the game, not as active in the team anymore. But yeah, right at the start from Splatoon 2, I created my own team, Ethereal. I still can't really pronounce that name. I don't know why I chose it, but yeah, I actually took over a lot of experience from other games, especially Overwatch, which I was playing on a really high level at the time in a really dedicated team. Overwatch is on a completely different level. If you want to play that like professionally, you really have to dedicate your whole life to it. And so for a few months, I was in a team where I really learned what it means to play something professionally, like with a dedicated coach, where you just had your team scrim sessions during the day, then the reviews and your solo sessions and whatever. Everything is super professional, scheduled and stuff. And I tried to take that over to Splatoon for my own team, and that's been basically the first few months for us. I gathered with some individuals I knew before, and we try harder the crap out of this game, basically. But yeah.
Well, if I'm remembering,
scrims and stuff like that, training, what reviews, we went over every map, every mode, and private battles, doing strategies and stuff, and like that, and we rose to the top pretty quickly. I mean, most of us were not that much known in Splatoon 1, but with the right mentality, and just at the start of the game, we immediately took off, and after a few months, we already won the first season of Looty and some majors, and yeah, it was actually kind of quick.
If I remember correctly, too, you guys were one of the first teams that really, really did well in a Japanese tournament. Didn't you guys take Libelant Calamari to 3-4, if I'm not mistaken, right? It was a very, very close set for, what would that have been? That would have been Platinum Cup.
That's still the highest placement in a Platinum Cup.
Yeah, it was Platinum Cup, too.
It was only fourth place, but yeah, we played against Libelant Calamari, game for the third place or so. Something like that, and we barely lost that. That still bugs me till this day.
So, which hurt more, losing that set or losing at Worlds to GG Boys? Like, if you could have one set back.
Winning the World Cup would have been way better, of course, but probably the set against LC hurt more at Platinum Cup, since we kind of threw the game away.
That's
the thing is about the World Cup. Of course, winning would be nice, but I never really cared about like the outcome of it. I just wanted to put up a good show because it was a one-time thing for me anyway. Because I only subbed for back squids at that time. So I wasn't too mad about the loss at the World Cup,
Yeah.
but we
I'm,
still
I'm
put up a show there, and
You
the
did, you
show
did.
was amazing.
I'm trying to remember now. Who was it? One of you almost knocked down a setup. Was that Echo who almost knocked down his setup? Because I remember the staff had to come over and stop you guys from your pop off after the STDX set.
I think it was Kaito even, because he was still having his headset on, and Echo jumped on him already and tried to drag him off the set. And yeah, I don't know. But I mean, I think to that point, STDX has never lost a tournament. I think they lost a set before, but they came all the way back in losers run. So beating the US in the tournament and STDX in specifically was something which was never done before. And yeah, we kind of turned around. I think we were down 1-2, and then we turned it around in the end and clutched in the end. And then, in such a moment, just every emotion just runs out.
I distinctly remember too, right after you guys had won and you were walking off the stage, you like looked over at me and pointed at me and like pointed at the commentators, and at that moment I was like, he is on cloud 9 right now. So that was one of that I think was, for many people, that was the set that got people into Splatoon, because that was the first World Championships, and that was, to that point, I would say, one of the best, or at least certainly the most exciting sets of Splatoon ever played. So how does it feel to know that you played a significant role in this game's history?
I mean, it feels great, obviously. I have nothing but good memories of it. Even the following set against Japan, which we lost. I mean, it was just such a neat experience playing against the best of the best in the world. Japan, US. And it's in front of such a big audience as well. I mean, not even... I mean, they streamed it right before the Smash tournament. There were a lot of viewers online, so that was kind of, in general, the World Championship is kind of the showcase of our community we have. So that's the one event we can really show what our community is about, and it just felt great, just showing the world what we can do as a community, or how far we can push the game, at least to this point. And one thing I really remember from that set, especially against the US, because we were basically playing on their home turf, at one point the whole crowd was just cheering USA, 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 and you just couldn't hear any in-game sound. You couldn't hear any calls anymore, because it was just so loud, and the whole atmosphere was so overwhelming. And just playing against it, of course, we were kind of the underdog there, not the underdog, but yeah, the crowd was heavily in favor of the US, but just feeling the energy while you play, that's beyond amazing, that feeling. So
if it makes you feel any better, we couldn't hear the other casters either once the USA chant started. I remember, if you actually go back and look, there's like one moment distinctly where I think Jordan asks me a question, and I like don't even answer his question because I couldn't hear at all what he was asking, just because it's true. Like, if you haven't been on the stage and you haven't experienced what it's like to be in that crowd, it is deafening, man. People cheer loud.
Yeah, like most of the time in the streams, you don't really get the atmosphere, how loud it can get. That totally bugged me during the last European Championship, because we had an even bigger crowd there, which was completely made of Splatoon players who actually traveled to the event, and the atmosphere there was super tight. But on stream, you could barely hear anything of it, and that's kind of sad that they couldn't convey the atmosphere on the stream. But I think for the World Championship, at least in this year, they did a fantastic job, because even in the stream you could hear almost everything. Not as loud, obviously, but yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about kind of your journey to get better at Splatoon and swapping over to Overwatch, learning a lot of things there. So did you find yourself really good at Splatoon from the start? Because I know you were in Extermination, but talk a little bit, because you're one of the first players on here that we've had. Of course, we had all of FT win, but that was more of a team perspective. So just talk a little bit about, as a top player, the things that you did early on when you were playing to get better? Was it just a lot of hours? I know if anybody at home has done their homework and watched Wadsm's content, you'll know that playing a lot of hours isn't necessarily the key. But talk a little bit about your journey to get better at the game.
That's actually a rough question, at least for Splatoon 1, since the game was so fresh and no one actually knew how it's meant to be played and stuff like that. So you just had to figure stuff out and just play. And you had your weapon you played in solo queue and just try to rank up as high as possible. S plus 99 was the thing to achieve, and actually hold that rank was really difficult in the first game. So that was kind of the first main thing for me, to just be that consistent in the game to hold the highest rank possible. But then actually playing it in a team, it didn't felt that much different from solo queue back in the day, since it's just who gets the most kills at that point. And once you were good at that, at getting kills, you were in for a good time against almost everyone. So yeah, just grinding solo queue until you get super consistent and can just take down everyone in your path. That was kind of the thing, that the go-to thing in Splatoon 1 that doesn't work anymore in Splatoon 2. So in Splatoon 2, I had a way more analytical approach to the game. Not necessarily for me, but for my team. Like, I was always a player who invested way more in his team than in myself. I always played weapons, which were kind of straightforward or didn't require the most mechanical skill, I would say, since I was always more of a strategic player. Or, like, my game sense was always better than my mechanical skill, and I always tried to just push my team further to get those W's in the tournaments and stuff like that. So a lot of work was put in my team than in myself. I gotta admit, of course, I still played solo queue in Splatoon 2 and stuff, and performed in scrims, so that's kind of the practice you get, but my focus was always on the team and stuff like that. So once my team disbanded, I actually didn't know quite what to do in this game, to be honest. That's probably why I also ended up making more content, since I never really felt like I invested too much in my own play. But that was also the thing which I always liked about Splatoon. It's a team game. And if I would want to play an individual game, I would play something like Smash or something like that. I mean, that's also the reason why I quit Splatoon 1, since it was just so straightforward. There was no strategy involved in the point at the point of time which I was playing it at the highest level. The whole gameplay was just get kills. That's basically it. Just go in brainlessly. The more aggressive you are, the better. And I never really liked that. And I remember when Splatoon 2 was shown off, they showed an ability like where you could actually give defensive buffs to your teammates, and that's where I'm talking about Ink Armory, obviously.
Right.
pretty standard special, but that's something. That was the moment where I started to get the feeling that Splatoon 2 was way more team orientated than the first game, and that really got my hopes up, and it really paid off in the end, since Splatoon 2 requires a lot more team-centric strategic play.
Yeah, that explains a lot, I think, about how Ethereal was able to take the steps up so quickly here, because even towards the start of Splatoon 2, I got the sense that we were still trying to figure the game out. We weren't entirely sure exactly how it was to be played. So it's really cool to hear that you guys were one of the first teams, and you one of the first players that really focused on it from that perspective.
Yeah.
And let me see here. You mentioned, actually that's a great segue too, because you talked about your team disbanding being one of the reasons you started to focus more on content. And, aside from maybe Dude, you're really the only other top player who creates consistent content, and content that does really, really well.
Consistent.
Well, hey man, it's
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sure. And I talk a little bit about like what inspired you to start the content creation, because I know your team disbanding gave you the opportunity to do it, but were you always someone who was interested in content and just didn't have the chance? And what were the early stages like for you?
Earlier stages, I was always into content creation, if you name it like that. I mean, when I was like 6 to 7 years old, I started producing own videos. Back in the day, I did Lego stop motion. I just had my Lego toys and I took pictures of them and put them together to actually make a movie out of it.
I
I still have,
definitely went back and watched those first few videos when I was doing
yeah,
research
I
for
still have
this.
some of them up on YouTube. Most of them have hundred of thousand views. So I don't know. It was always a thing which really like fascinated me, or just it was always a hobby of mine, just creating videos or content, or just like the creative process to create something which you just like to see. That was always the main motivation for me to create content. Ever since forward, I mean, once I started playing video games and Mario Kart competitive, I started to occasionally do videos of them as well. If I had a neat idea I wanted to do, I just did that. And most of the time, it got received pretty well because I actually created content I actually liked myself. And once I did the transition to Splatoon, I just started occasionally to do Splatoon videos. But yeah, so I was already kind of a content creator, just a bit, yeah, just for the fun of it. But after the World Cup, yeah, I just didn't know exactly what to do at this point. Since I didn't have a team, I didn't see any opportunities for me to join another team at that time. And yeah, from that time, I just decided I would just focus on that more, since I'm always having a lot of ideas in mind. Like, still, I've output a lot of Splatoon 2 videos already, but I'm still having like a lot of sheets just full of video ideas, which I haven't done yet. So for me to run out of video ideas, that would take a while. If I would just completely dedicate myself to video creation, that would still take a while to just walk off that list, and chances high I would come up with way more than that. At that point, I mean, yeah, what kind of bugged me was there was a lack of dedicated guides for, especially for the competitive community, for people who want to become better. Because for me, it was always pretty hard to get into the scene. I mean, you can get into the scene, but there was just nothing to really which you can use to walk your way up, or to just which gives you a sort of a guideline what to do in order to improve. So I just started doing guides as well during the time frame where I was dedicating myself to content creation, and yeah, that worked out for a couple months after. but then, yeah, studies just took over again, and then it's a pretty time consuming hobby. So just balancing everything out is pretty hard,
Sure.
like real life, and then it's still a hobby after all. So
You mean you're not a millionaire because of the content that you've created?
certainly not.
Well, shoot. Okay, if 30,000 subscribers doesn't get you to be a millionaire, then I don't know. This whole
Well, yeah.
content creation thing seems pretty rough. But you talked about your creative process and how you liked it, and that's one of the things you've always enjoyed about videos. What is your creative process like? You mentioned that you had a list of these different ideas. Do these just pop up when you're walking around? Or are you pretty regimented when you're saying, okay, I need to come up with a video that's like this? How do I fit it? I'm really curious.
It's pretty random at times. Like I say, just an idea pops up just like that. Mm, a lot just like most of the time I'm just playing Splatoon and stuff happens to me, like a not solo queue match, or I'm just enjoying a weapon right now, so I play that weapon a lot, get a lot of clips, and throw in a montage or something like that. It's like a mix of both. Like a few videos were just okay. Hey, it's hard to describe. I never thought about that. in detail. So
Sure. Well, I mean, so how about this? Do you have somebody else that you brainstorm ideas off of? Or, because I'm someone who has to brainstorm ideas with other people before I can actually move forward with something. Because
Oh,
I'm always
really?
worried, well,
Okay.
I'm always worried that I'm like, yeah, this seems really good. And then, a day passes and I'm like, is this really good? I'm not sure anymore. So I'm someone who needs someone else to bounce those ideas off of. Are you someone who, when you come up with an idea, you're pretty confident in it? Or do you need other people to work with?
No, I'm just confident with it, and I start working on it. And if I need other people, I just ask people if they want to help me. Because some videos just require a lot of recording, like in private battles to stage stuff and so on. Yeah, but it's kind of a one-man show, to be honest.
I mean, that's even more
But
inspiring then, though.
if you see it that way, it might be. Thing is,
I'm
yeah,
trying to think right here because I know you talked about this a little bit already, and so I want to try to like build off what you said. But you mentioned a
mm,
little bit you didn't think that there was a lot of Splatoon content out there for the competitive community. So talk a little bit about the
yeah.
state of Splatoon content creation through your eyes, of course. Here, is it quality that's lacking? Is it quantity that's lacking? Is there anything you'd like to see more of? I mean, you're at the forefront of this stuff, so I'm really curious what your thoughts are.
Phew. I mean, at that time, we had some YouTubers who did content specifically for the competitive community, but it was always so specific. So it was tackling a specific problem on a specific map for a specific weapon, or it was always pretty hard to like what do you do with that information, with that super specific guide on something which sure can help you, but you still have to learn the basics of the game first. So I think at that time there was really like an opening guide missing, accessible to anyone who is interested in stepping into the community. And I kind of wanted to tackle that problem with a series of guides which are just, if you have never really heard anything of competitive Splatoon, of course you had to play the game first. I'm not explaining like the super basics of the game, but if you played the game and hopped into rank mode or something like that, then you would find easily, well, yeah, you could easily get something out of that guide, since it starts at the very beginning. That's how to get better and stuff, and then I split it in different videos tackling bigger topics. Like one video was completely dedicated to the mechanical side of the game, which were just talking about advanced techniques and tricks, which were just movement stuff and all the um, techniques you can perform, like substraving and stuff. The other video was just talking a bit more about the structure of the game, how every weapon has a specific playstyle, how teams synergize around each other with the roles the weapons plays and stuff like that. Then the next videos were just all about maps, where I covered every map with good spots and how to approach and what's important on those maps to watch out for, and then so on. That there was just, those guides don't go into anything specific like in super detail, but it's just a good start if you just have nowhere to start off from. And just seeing the numbers, like the view numbers of those guides, really showed me that something like that was needed, since most of those videos have way more than 100,000 views, maybe more, to 100,000 or something like that. And just from the feedback I'm getting still till today, since the last guide I did over a year ago, I think I did 5 or 6, 5, I think 5. Yeah, I'm still getting tons of messages from people who just, yeah, thank me that those guides basically helped them to get into the game and just to get better and just to achieve whatever they set themselves to achieve. And that itself is probably the most rewarding aspect of content creation, to be honest. Just hearing the feedback of the people that you could inspire them or help them. And I think there's a lack of content still in the community which inspires people to get into our competitive community. I mean, the Splatoon community as a whole is, of course, something else than just a casual and the competitive community. And I think the competitive community really lacks, or still lacks, like those inspire. Yeah, like for example, we have the World Cups and European Championships, US Championship, and so on. But there's not a lot of content produced around that. So of course you can watch those events, but there's nothing really which might catch interest of people, like doing like coverage of those events, or people like doing montages of them, or just doing whatever with it, you know. So the competitive side of the community still has a lack of exposure, I would say.
So yours, so almost more hybrid content, something that could be enjoyed by people outside of the competitive community and also inside of the competitive community.
Yeah, it's kind of. I'm also doing a lot of casual content, but with that casual content, I also draw a lot of focus on my competitive content, since it's on the same channel, so people are still gonna check it out. So
Well, I mean, even even your more casual content though has really high level play in it. I mean,
that's kind of
yeah.
more inspiring than other like my issue is that there's a lack of inspiring content for people to really dedicate themselves to getting better at the game. Just showing off what you can do in the game is probably the best thing we can put out there, since we as a competitive community push the game really far. But for example, like there's a trend on Twitter that everyone just collects their clips and occasionally does a montage on Twitter and stuff. But rarely anyone just uploads it on YouTube where it can actually be found and stuff. Like I see a lot of amazing clips and stuff I've never seen someone doing in the game on Twitter and stuff, but how should that reach anyone outside that competitive bubble we live in on Twitter? So yeah, when I'm doing montages, I'm giving them a more casual appeal with a lot of memes and over the top content and stuff, like, but there's still a lot of just competitive clips in there. And I'm kind of trying to make a bridge between both communities, so that the big audience, the big casual community gets more exposed to the competitive community as well. So, and I think we have a lack of people trying to do the same to get more people interested in the competitive side of our community. For example, Dude is like the other top level player who also does a lot of content, but his content, at least for me, is a bit more specific towards the competitive community only. I mean, he's been around for quite some time, but
Right.
in general, the casual content creators of Splatoon, they tend to do way better, like just view-wise and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah. You
Than
look at
purely
you look at like Octoboy and
for example.
like some of the numbers that those YouTubers are able to put up is completely remarkable. And when people say, "Oh, Splatoon isn't popular, Splatoon doesn't do well on YouTube," look at these numbers, man. These are anyone would be happy with these numbers. So I think you're absolutely right, and you're definitely onto something, that there is an untapped market, and creating content that can attract both is big. I mean, I actually just took a little moment to take a look at some of Kaji's numbers, because Kaji, of course, has, I think, 4,000 subscribers right now on YouTube, and doesn't post nearly as much as some other people does, and she posts a lot of her tournament VODs, but her video of getting second in tower control and getting first in tower control, which are titled Splatoon 2 Rank X, reaching first in tower control and reaching second in tower control. One of them is about 30,000 views, and the other one's at almost 50,000 views. And that's from someone who doesn't post nearly as much. So clearly, there's a way that the content can be framed to showcase player skill, but still attract the views of people who aren't as familiar with the competitive scene.
Yeah, just having VODs on YouTube, I mean, that helps the competitive community. If you have a top player you want to learn from, that's awesome if they post their VODs, but the casual audience just doesn't care about that. If you want to do a video about the tournament, you would kind of need to do a montage out of it, like a 10-minute montage of a tournament run you did or something like that. That would attract way more people than just uploading the VOD.
I'm trying to think now. So would that be... I mean, you've probably already answered this, so it's a moot point, but I mean, is that the type of content you'd most like to see? Would you like to see more like tournament montages that can go around, or is there another type of content you're more interested in seeing?
I actually don't remember ever seeing a tournament montage.
Oh, there you go. The answer has been given, everybody.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, is there any content of tournaments out there? Like, that's the main part of our competitive community. That's where it all comes together, where we compete against each other, what we train for, what we basically are here for in the competitive community. And there's barely anything out there from it. Of course, it gets the numbers while it's getting streamed, but there's barely anything which stays. And I mean, you can see, of course, there's the World Cup, which gets uploaded by Nintendo, which has probably 1 million views or 2 or so. But there's not much else content of it, and of other tournaments, there's just not, which could attract casual viewers.
Man, sometimes that's so... Now that I think about it, that's so in your face and obvious. It's like,
yeah,
why don't we have? Because that is the greatest resource for the competitive community are the VODs, and for a lot of events, the VODs don't even get uploaded. And I guess before we even get to montages, man, having our VODs consistently uploaded is a great step.
Yeah.
So what role, and again, you've kind of answered this too, but is that the primary role of content right now for the competitive community? Because I feel that in terms of guides and VOD reviews, that's something that exists already on Twitch. There are a lot of people who do VOD reviews or stream their scrims and talk about them. Do you think the main role that content plays right now is growing the community, especially as we head into... I mean, this is going to be year 3, the 3rd full year of Splatoon 2.
I mean, it shouldn't solely be the whole purpose of content, just to grow a community. I mean, content like VOD reviews of tournaments and stuff like that is great content. And it serves its purpose for the people who want to get better at the game. But it's a pretty small fraction of the Splatoon community. And I think as Splatoon 2 progressed, a lot of more high-level and top-level players started to upload their VODs or just solo queue matches, occasionally did guides or opinion videos on topics, or just started streaming and stuff like that. That's pretty good content for the community, the competitive community to thrive on. But as you said, like, most of that content doesn't contribute to growing our community, to reach out to people who are not in the community yet. First and foremost, of course, there's the casual Splatoon community, the people who are familiar with the game, who like the game already. Those are the people most likely to get into the game competitively. So yeah, so content, maybe that's the one purpose content does, which just is the weakest in our community, the growing aspect, that it gets more people into the community, because current content doesn't do that. Even though our current content is already great, but it's serving different purpose, educational purpose.
Sure. And I think part of the success that you've had has been because you are such a skilled player and have so many accolades. Do you think that being a top player and top content creator can coexist? I know that you were able to step up more because you were able to take the break, like you mentioned there. But it seems like, with the exception of Dude, it's one side or the other. I mean, can it be done both, or is it just too much focus to be a top player that you don't have the time to be a content creator?
I mean, Dude does that professionally. That's basically his job. The thing is, yeah, it's just way too time consuming. I mean, alone, just getting, just practicing and getting to the top of the game, like top level of the competitive community, takes hours and hours of your free time. And doing that, you gotta do that over a consistent time period, and that already just takes away so much free time that content creation is just, yeah, it's really hard to balance. I mean, if you have school, studies, a job, or something like that, that's just so much time you can use. And I mean, it can kind of coexist. I think the easiest way for it to coexist is to be a top level player and just stream your stuff. That's good content. I mean, that's content we need in the community. And I'm glad that more and more people are doing that. That's like the easiest thing. But doing something like Dude does, or that I did, that's super hard to do if you just don't do it full time, you know?
Right.
It's, yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes it all the more impressive that you've been able to do what you've been able to do. And I know I said in one of my earlier questions that I sent a crying face emoji because you not playing as much means I have one less bucket player to watch. But in a very selfish way, I'm kind of glad that you've taken a step back, because now I get to see your great content too. And I want you to know that I have actually, on a few different occasions, talked to people outside of the community who are familiar with your content simply because of all the eyes it attracts. And I guess this is a roundabout way of thanking you for the content that you have created and the content that you will continue to create, because a little birdie, that birdie being you, told me that you have some stuff on the horizon, some new projects.
Yeah, that's right. Like, I started streaming this week again because in the next few months I actually gonna have a lot of free time, so I can actually dedicate myself to content again. And I also set myself the ambitious goal to also get back into a dedicated team again for the top level of the game, which I said is pretty ambitious since, yeah, I mean, at this point, I've been teamless for almost 2 years, and I mean, I still have a good understanding of the game and stuff, but I've been falling behind a lot, so catching up there and just, yeah, coexisting with the content I'm planning to do as well will be hard. I mean, like I said, I started streaming this week. I also already have done, well, just finished editing a video, which I'm gonna upload tomorrow as well, which will be just, yeah, it's gonna be just a silly video, like a pretty entertaining video, so nothing too major, but it's still gonna, like, I'm still really looking forward to it, how it's gonna be received, since it's been like almost half a year since I uploaded. I don't know. So, I mean, my last videos were montages, so that's like a more competitive content, I guess, since it actually showcased skill and just combines it with a, like we talked before, like combining the competitive audience and the casual audience. But the video I'm gonna upload tomorrow is gonna be fully casual, and the one afterwards as well. I wanna do that since it tends to attract more views, and I really gotta get back into the algorithm and stuff like that. So it's kind of a bit of a strategic play as well. And I mean, it's just been an idea I had in mind for quite some time. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to spending all the free time I gonna have over the next few months into, yeah, like dedicating to content creation again. And yeah, I hope I can contribute again to the community, because that's still one of my like, I still desire for this community to grow and just be like, it can be so much more than it is right now. Like, I really see its potential, and it's such a wonderful community.
That's really
So,
encouraging to hear too, from a player who's been really all up and down it too to hear. I mean, so often I think negativity always travels faster than positivity. So it's good to hear that there are still people at the top who have that belief.
I've been in plenty of gaming communities for different games, but the Splatoon community has been the most like open community, tolerant community. Just there's barely any drama. The drama we get in Splatoon, that's 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 nothing compared to other gaming communities
Hey,
and
I don't
stuff.
know, man.
And
If
everyone is
if Kyo squid bags during the World Championships again, man, the community might implode. That's a little spicy, let me tell you.
yeah. I mean that people kind of get upset over that just shows us that there's nothing like there's nothing more like to complain about, I guess. I mean, of course there's gonna be some drama eventually, but I mean I've met so many amazing people and I never had beef with anyone. I mean that's that might be a thing just for me, but I mean I've met so many different amazing people, intriguing people. That the community has given me so much, and I just want to give back, and I want to see it growing and prosper, and yeah, it's kind of two-way thing.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I feel the same way. The community's obviously given me so much. I want to give back as well. I have to ask, though, and I have to make a request of you. When is there going to be another edition of improved taunts that aren't squid bagging? Because that video, I kid you not, I have watched that video. I don't know how many views it has, but at least 50 of them are mine. So that video, it might be the single most hilarious piece of Splatoon content ever created. And I'm greedy. I need more.
The art of disrespect.
The art
I
of
mean, I
disrespect.
kind of expanded on that concept a lot. I did like 5 more with just different topics, which were just not taunts or just squid bagging. But those are actually the videos which get the most views, so I don't know. I mean, you telling me you watched them that many times, I might not be that surprised to get so many views, but
Hey,
I
they
mean,
are
I'm planning
good.
on doing another one of them, which might be similar to the very first one of the taunts, but a bit different. But I gotta look into that since I haven't started producing it yet. Yeah.
Well, Wadsm, I think that is the end of the questions that I had for you that I had listed out. We've been going for about 45 minutes right now. Again, I really appreciate it. I know it's past midnight for you right now. I really appreciate you being so accommodating and willing to stay up late to make this happen. Where can people find you? Obviously, we've been talking about your content creation. So just tell everybody about your Twitch channel, your YouTube, your Twitter. Where can people find you to watch what you're making?
Well, Twitter and Twitch is easy. Just Wadsm, just like that. WADSM. People kind of misspell it a lot, but yeah. And on Twitter, it's just the Wadsm, just a THE in front of the Wadsm, at the Wadsm. And yeah, since I'm back actively creating content, you can expect a lot of traffic on those platforms: Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And yeah, I think that's it.
All right, then one question from one Slosher player to the other. Which Slosher do you think is the most relevant right now? Because I've seen some arguments for K Machine, I've seen some arguments for the soda, and I've seen some arguments still. There's a few people I feel still playing Slosh Deco at a very high level. Which do you think, if you could only pick one right now, which would you pick? Or would you still pick Slosher? That might be I forget exactly how often you bring Slosher in, because it's been so long since I've seen it, but I've always loved your Slosher.
Yeah, it's kind of been my signature weapon. I mean, Try got buffed once or twice. It's actually kind of strong right now, but people kind of sleep on it. But the most relevant Slosher, man. I mean, K Machine is kind of only a thing on tower, so it must be the normal Slosher. I don't know if Deco or Soda. Probably Soda has more potential, which kind of pains me a lot since Slosher Deco is also another weapon I've been known to play, and I never really touched Soda, I gotta admit. been kind of solely a Slosher deco main, but I think Soda is a bit stronger. You can do a bit more with it. It has more utility. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you could make the argument that deco is better on Clamlets, but I don't know. Baller pushes are kind of dead.
They are. It's the game has changed. People have learned it doesn't work at the same level that it did. But it's still awesome to hear that, even within one weapon class, there's so much discussion about the weapons.
I mean, I would argue that Explo is probably the strongest Slosher, but it's so different than the other ones. So
right. Well, hey, I mean, how much Explo did we see over the weekend? I mean, hey, it was only Humpback, but when Humpback shows up in every set, then Explo looking pretty good right now. And even outside of that, Explo is one of those weapons that it just kind of went away, but it didn't get much worse. I mean, I know it's been nerfed a few times, but it's still a very strong weapon, and one that I feel like if you're skilled with and the right map and mode comes up, there's always going to be room for that in your team comp.
Totally.
All right. Well, Wadsm, I don't have anything else for you. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I let you go to bed?
Well, now I'm wide awake. Is there anything left to say? I mean, other than that I love this game, probably not.
Sub to Wadsm.
I mean, it's kind of, the thing is, a lot of people, it's kind of, for a lot of people, it's like a love-hate relationship with the game, because we kind of tend to not get tired of it, but overplay it. But in the end, most of us just come back every now and then again, and that just shows us how good this game actually is. Like the core gameplay of this game is just so good. Like most of the time when I'm not been playing Splatoon and I see a clip of someone playing Splatoon or just a streamer, so like, I'm getting so eager to play this game again because it's just so intriguing, even though you get tired of it a lot sometimes. So but you always come back. That's like the beautiful thing about this game.
We always come back, and it's not going anywhere. That's what matters most. Well, thank you again, Wadsm, for agreeing to do this, for responding so quickly, and I'm glad we were able to make this work for you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Really liked it. Appreciate the time.
I'm glad that you appreciated it. Oh yeah, one last question here, and people at home won't get this. What in the world is your icon? I'm just now looking at your Discord icon.
Yeah, it's been my Discord icon for like years now, and I had my normal profile pic, which I also have on YouTube, Twitch, and stuff, for a couple of months. But I always get people just telling me I should change back to my old one because I'm kind of known for that. I don't know. It's from a super weird video.
It looks like Goofy.
Yeah, it's Goofy.
Oh.
It's one of a YouTube video called Mouse Fan Club, and there's some Mario music playing in the background. And it's just a super bad animated video. I don't know. There's one frame where Goofy was looking so. I don't know. I have this since 5 or 6 years. So yeah. People in the stream won't know what I'm talking about, but
well, they'll piece it together. If they want to find it, they'll find it. But I'm warning you all: if the animation is as horrifying as this icon is, this
it's
image
really
by
bad.
itself, careful, man. You might strike oil here, but you might not like what you find if you keep digging.
If you look closer, you can even see a pair of eyes in his mouth. So there's some demonic shit going on there. I don't know. The video is super off because there's. I think at one point they're sacrificing Carlo, that big cat character from, there's all the like Mickey Mouse, Donald, Goofy, all those Disney characters are in there. It's so bad, and they all look terrible. I don't know. Mouse Fan Club is the title of the video, I think.
Well, there you go. Your final gift to us in this interview is to send everybody off to a video that will give them nightmare fuel. So this has been very productive all the way to the end.
Totally.
All right, Wadsm. Thank you again. I'll let you go now, and I'll be sure to check out your new content when it drops tomorrow.
All right. See you around then.
All right. So back to the show, man, Wadsm is so good. Everybody loves Wadsm here. He makes great content, and to hear him talk so eloquently about what he thinks the scene needs and how he tried to meet that, it actually tied in very well with what we talked about last week, and also going to tie in very well with some of the results of the poll, which we will talk about later. But for now, everybody, it's time to get emotional, because as you all know, InkTV, the ship, has officially set sail, or maybe it has returned to port. Either one. He shared the link. Absolute. Oh, fantastic here. He has shared the link here. You all will be able to find this. But I will ask you all to stay a little bit grounded right now, because it's not often that I have a topic on this soapbox that really connects with me emotionally. Generally, it's something that I find interesting, that I find intriguing, or a discussion that isn't being had that I think needs to be had. But this is more, I guess the closest thing to it is an obituary. And again, all of the people who comprised InkTV are, of course, still around the scene. They, of course, are still, I'm still talking with them every day. But I really wanted, I feel that, over time, when you grow so accustomed to a service that you're getting, you forget exactly what all that service has done and what the world was like before that service. So I'm going to be taking today's soapbox to do what I am calling the Ode to InkTV. So this is, I'll tell you how serious this is. This is the first speech that I have written since sophomore year of college. So without further ado, the Ode to InkTV. In this modern age of buzzwords, we seem to enjoy throwing out terms without fully grasping what they mean. We in the Splatoon community call ourselves grassroots, but what comprises such a thing? Certainly, the players are the bulk of it, but a grassroots movement can't exist without groups of individuals making self-sacrifices to further the desires and dreams of the community. It is rare indeed to see a group that is equal parts talented and impassioned come together in a collaborative effort with no promise of compensation or personal advancement. And yet that seems to be the secret ingredient of any thriving grassroots scene. And yes, that's exactly what InkTV was. Knowing most of them very well, there are many words I could use to describe the members of InkTV. Lunatics, demented, masochists, deranged, fatuous, dumb. I can't think of a single rational reason why they would pour themselves into their projects in the manner they did. But they continue to do so anyway. Weirdos. People often employ the ever-present "I'm busy" excuse, citing their careers, schooling, and social lives as roadblocks to their contributions. InkTV's endeavors were once described by Bleck himself as a candle burning at both ends. Yet it must have had the longest wick of any waxy structure that was ever created, because they carried on, all the same. What started as a humble venture to create events for Splatoon would drastically change shape over time, and through years of metamorphosis, they became a pillar of the community. I'm aware that it wasn't what any of them signed up for, and it certainly wasn't their goal to become a pantheon that was at the beck and whim of an online community. But I'd argue it was inevitable, and despite being in the public eye and subject to its ridicule, they continued to march forward, trying to meet the needs of a group that wasn't entirely sure what its needs were. When the community asked for majors, InkTV responded with Fall of the Squids, Rise of the Sharks, and the InkTV Open. When the community asked for championships, InkTV responded with the Inkvitational and the Splatoon World League playoffs. When the community asked for weeklies, InkTV revamped Bleck and Spoon, giving teams a chance to earn money and see consistent growth as they cut their teeth in the game. When the community said they wanted content, InkTV produced Ink Radio, wrote articles on their website, and created highlight videos for top teams that competed in their championship events. When the community claimed that meeting other players was too difficult, InkTV developed Extravaganza, a tournament backed by an algorithm that matched players with those around their skill level. When other events in the community struggled to find their footing, InkTV ran production for them, whether it be for beginners like Young Ink or major events like the Squidboard Splat series. There is a standard that this community holds itself to now that would not exist without the constant innovations made by InkTV. The story of our game can't be told without their contributions, and it is because of them that we have legs to stand on today. Thank you for all you've done, InkTV. And tonight, I will toast to you with a tall, cold glass of Coca-Cola. There may be 10 people who will understand the significance of that reference, but I'm hoping that some of those 10 are here tonight. So, that is my ode to InkTV. Thank you for taking a chance on an unproven commentator like me and giving the chance to taste my dreams, but also to chase my dreams. That, really, guys, thank you to InkTV. And, I selfishly hope that you all come back if there is a Splatoon 3. And don't be a stranger, guys. Seriously. You've done so much for the community. You've created a level of expertise and professionalism that we expect in our events now. And none of that would have been possible without what you all did. Not only at no promise of compensation, but actually the opposite of that. Understanding that you were going to lose money on every event and lose time, and still doing it simply because you love the game. Now, yeah, that's all right, Afrohawk. You don't have to get it. It's better you don't. Polls and discussion, everybody. I definitely hit that button. I don't know why it's not... There we go. Polls and discussion. So, as you all know here... Sorry, I gotta bring myself back in. We do a poll every week where we do the back 9. Last week's was actually about content creation. So, the poll results from the 2/16/2020 show. What type of content would you like to see more of? VOD reviews, highlight videos, guides of weapons and comps, or news shows of the community? VOD reviews, a very respectable second place of 30.5%. Highlight videos, 9.2%. This is a lot lower, and it's very interesting that Wadsm and I were talking about this. And I know it's only 141 votes, but it's very likely that most of the people that voted were in the competitive community to some capacity. So it's interesting to note that what the competitive community wants and what Wadsm and frankly I too think the community needs more of is actually the lowest voted here. After that, guides of weapons and comps at 25.5%, and the top, new shows of the community. And again, this won with a pretty high margin of votes, 34% taking over a third of the vote. And this kind of, I think this brings us into what a couple of the top responses were, because we didn't have as many responses this week. So I'm going to go ahead and shout out, as always, Afrohawk, who always goes out of his way to respond to these, the true hero and the true MVP of this show. News shows would be excellent for keeping players informed on events, up-and-coming creators, hot topics, and even new ideas not yet put into motion. In this almost post-patch environment, a consistent stream of information would help us see what's going on in the community. Also, the other poll options require some level of understanding of the game to pull off correctly, but anyone can host a news show. As long as you keep your ears open, you can gather info and present it to the community. Then another consistent friend of the show and the channel, Akira, One-Winged Akira, definitely, or defo, news. A consistent stream of info will certainly help the scene feel dynamic and alive, as well as being a nice central point where we can easily start dialogue, assuming a show gets big enough following. Basically, we want more back 9s. And I really appreciate that, because that confirms my hypothesis that this show is something that has value to the community. And I think, again, creating something that can allow the members who have just found their way in the community to grow further and learn more is very important. And as Wadsm and I were discussing, it's that much more important to bring people in with things like montages and easily consumable content. Or informative motion pictures, as we say around here. Imps, everybody! Avoid the buzzword. Now, on this similar topic, if you want news, everybody, there's a new channel out here for you to follow. I'm not affiliated with this Twitter account. I have no idea who runs it. But Splatoon News, at Splatoon News _ has done a fantastic job already of charting different tournament results, different events that have been going on and happening. Again, they did not ask me to promote them. This is something that I feel has been needed for quite a while, and I think they've done a fantastic job with it already. You can go ahead and follow them. I think they're somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 to 700 followers right now. There's no reason why we can't get that higher, spread what they're doing, and contribute too. I know that part of it oftentimes is we just don't hear enough. Feel free to DM them anything that you get, any information, any tournament that's going on there. Just let them know here. All that I've seen from them right now is good stuff. They've put together short video montages. It's not the answer to everything, but whenever a group of people, or one person for all we know, is able to do something like this, it's very important that we band together and reinvest in them. Thank you for the link, Afrohawk. That's an even easier way to get to them there. So get in there, let them know that you support them, and let's go ahead and build on what some people have started to put together. Now we're going to go ahead and hop back to main here, because after what's been a fantastic show, I do have some bad news for you. 9 to 5 is still happening, but it will not be happening tonight. That is the bad news. The good news is there's a specific reason for that, and it's a good one, and that is that I have a new job. I am now working pretty significant hours at a climbing gym, the climbing gym that I have gone to. These past couple weeks have been my initiation, and because of that, my schedule has been very much in flux. You'll notice that I haven't been streaming as well. I explained on my Discord that is part of the reason why I have not been able to do so. But it's good news, right? It's good news to be able to earn money for something that you love, which I do when I stream, I do when I commentate, and now I will be doing at the gym as well. Getting paid to work at a gym just seems like cheating, but whatever. I'm always about finding the easiest way to do anything. So I did want to get that update to you now. We also have a poll for the coming week as well, and I'm going to go ahead and post it for you. This is a very topical and maybe even sensitive topic. So this is very, very modern, but I want to know your thoughts, and I know that the people who are behind it also are curious as well. It is posted now. What is your greatest reservation about entering pay-to-play events? As many people know, pay-to-play events have not done well in the community historically. And although there are a number of different reasons people think of for that, I'm very curious if there maybe is another answer that people want to put out. So I've just posted that on my Twitter right now. Your options right now are inconvenience of paying, not different enough from normal events, and the production value lacking. Maybe you don't want to put money into something that doesn't look like it had money put into it. The fourth option is other, list below, because I know that there are a lot of different reasons, a myriad of them, and I want to give you the opportunity to express that. So that has been posted. There's going to be a full 7 days. The last couple times, I've only given you a couple days to respond, but I feel like a full 7 days will create some really, really interesting results. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you all have. And now, I have a couple more announcements for you all before we end this here. We've been going for just over an hour, so this has been an action-packed episode. First and foremost, I have 2 new guests that I can confirm will be coming on at some point in the near future. The first guest is going to be, and this may not be in order, it's going to be Magic 8-Ball, the person behind Splat at Purdue. Going to be talking a bit about what it means to start a Splatoon club at your own school, how to reach out to other people about Splatoon, how to find if people are interested in Splatoon, and learning about it in your personal life. It is a very unique situation, and I'm really interested in seeing what information they can provide that we may be able to take and apply at our own schools, at our jobs, our friend groups, and in our personal lives. So that's going to be a fun one. The other is going to be the brains behind Firetail Events, the Australian content creating, tournament running, website running dynamite that has been in contact with me. I was privileged to play in one of their events, compete as a captain. They have been doing a ton of great stuff in the Australian community, and we haven't gotten an Australian rep here in these episodes of the Back Nine. They are going to be coming in at a future event as well. We've got a lot to talk to them about, and of course the Tic Tac episode I am still working to make happen. Going to get him on here talking about pickups and what it means to be a Splatoon mercenary. So I want to thank everybody once again for coming in. This has been a great episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some value. Keep sending me your 9 to 5 submissions. We're going to have like 3 weeks of content to pull from here, which is going to make it even better. But until next time, everybody, stay fresh.